guys, I'm going to make just a short video explaining sentencing again, because I think a bunch of you are getting confused. So I think if I make a short video, it will make so much sense for everybody if you just watch this, okay? So I'm going to share my PowerPoint real quick. So it seems like you get most of the stuff with using the penal law and you're really good with it. I just want to point out the sentencing. I think you guys are trying to make it much harder than you need to, okay? So just a couple things. All of you seem really good on class. You seem to understand the locating the class pretty good. There wasn't too many mistakes on that, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Just a couple of quick reminders. Don't forget, if you have multiple crimes, every crime needs its own sentence, because they don't pool it together. The judge doesn't just say, oh, it's rape and murder. They each get their own sentence, and then the judge decides, are they going to be served concurrently at the same time, or are you going to serve one and then the other? Okay, so for example, if you have 25 years for murder and 25 years for rape, how many will be concurrent? Concurrent means at the same time. So the maximum you would spend would be 25. If it's consecutive, first you serve the 15, then you serve the 25. So then you would be talking 40 years. So that's just if you have multiple crimes. So you need a sentence for each crime. Okay, so this is the part I really want to go over. Now, depending on what the class of crime is, will determine if it's a determinant or indeterminate sentence. If it is a misdemeanor or violation, it's always going to be a determinate sentence, which is only going to be one number, because you get a set number of how long you're going to spend. If it is a felony, it's an indeterminate sentence. That means there's a range. So you need a maximum and you need a minimum. The problem is, there's ranges for the maximum and the minimum. So it's not always just two numbers. It's usually three numbers. And that's the part I want to explain to everybody. How do you find those three numbers? Okay. So I explained this in the PowerPoint. When you're looking up sentencing, first you look up the section, then you find the class, which you guys all seem to do. And then you're going to look on the sentencing section. And we're going to have to determine the maximum and the minimum. So we are only going to use section 70.00. I think some of you on the exam use some other sections, and you don't need to use those other sections because it gets super complicated. Like, is it aggravated? Is it a violent? Is it a second violent? We're going to try to keep it super simple. We're going to just going to use section 70.00. So don't use any other sections, even if you think it's violent or aggravated or anything. Don't use those sections. Only stick to section 70.00 if you're looking up a felony. Okay. So first you find the class. So we find that it's a B felony. That's our class. Okay. So then we're going to flip to section 70.00. When you look at 70.00, it tells you in the first part that it's an indeterminate sentence. So that tells you in your mind, okay, this is an indeterminate sentence. You're going to need a range. So I actually write notes right in my book. So you can see I mark section 70.00 for felonies, and then I mark section 70.15 for violations and misdemeanors. So I know those are the only two I'm going to use. And then when I go down to 70.00, you see I underlined indeterminate so that I know right away that I'm going to need multiple numbers. Okay. Next, I'm going to look at subsection 2. This is going to give me my maximum range. Okay. So when you read that first sentence in subsection 2, it says maximum term of sentence. The maximum term of an indeterminate sentence should be at least 3 years. So I underline 3 years. So you always remember when you are doing your maximum range, you're always going to start with 3. Okay. So that is your first number of your maximum range. We're still on maximum, but we're giving a range. So the judge has the ability to choose anything within this range for the maximum. So it's 3. So we know it's always going to start with 3. Now we go down in section 70, subsection 2, and depending on the class of crime, A, B, C, D, E, then that gives us our second number for the maximum range. When we look at B felony, we go down, we see B felony. we see it says 25 years. So now we put the two together just for the maximum range. So our maximum range is 3 to 25, okay? So that's still all just the maximum. Now we need to locate the minimum. So now we have to look at subsection 7000, subsection 3, and it says minimum. So again, underline the word minimum so you don't forget that that's going to be your minimum. And when you read that, it says the minimum period of imprisonment for indeterminate shall be 1 year. Underline or highlight 1 year. So you know for regular A, B, C, D, E felonies, it's always going to be 1 year, always. So when you put them together, we know our maximum range was 3 to 25. We know our minimum was 1 year. So then we're going to write it 1 to 3 to 25 years. Okay. So I hope that helps. So if you tried a couple, then you can go back and look at this PowerPoint and then you can see the answers. The only thing that's going to be different is when you get to the second one on this problems, A1. And this is going to change a little bit. So we still do our maximum. So we look and it's an A, so we know it's 3 years. And then we go down to A and we say it's life. Okay, so we know it's life in prison. The problem is what's going to change is the minimum range. This is the worst of the worst of the worst crime. So there's no way you're just getting 1 year. So we now need to figure out what is the minimum that you're going to jail. So we go to the minimum section, which is 7000 subsection 3. And then we have to look under A. So the next page. And you'll see on the next page, there's a section for A1 and A2. And if you highlight those and you look, it says an A1 has a minimum period shall not be less than 15 or more than 25. And then if you go down, it says an A2, 3 years or no more than 8. So that means your range now is coming in the minimum instead of at the maximum, because your maximum is life, right? So now we need to know what your minimum is. So this is how the A1 would be. Your max is life, and now your minimum is not less than 15 or more than 25, except for murder, and then that says it's 20 to 25. So if it's an A1, it's 15 to 25 to life. If it's murder, it's 20 to 25 to life. So A1s and A2s are the only ones that are going to have a range for the minimum. Otherwise, the range is always going to incur at the maximum. Okay? So I really hope that that helps. You can look through the PowerPoint again for some more examples if you want. But I just wanted to make this quick video so that you could go over it and see exactly what to do, because a lot of you, I think, are getting confused. I also wrote step-by-step directions that follow this exactly. So if you go to Blackboard and go back to the week that we did learning the penal law, this is all under learning the penal law. You can look, there's an actual document called Directions for Sentencing or Sentencing Directions. Print that out if you're confused and literally follow it step by step, and it will tell you exactly how you should do your sentencing. So I hope this helped. I'm going to post it, and hopefully it will be beneficial to you going forward, because you're going to have to do this on all future tests, all future case studies, on your final project. So you really need to spend the time figuring this out. So have a great day, and hopefully I will be seeing you soon. Bye.